الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Inshallah, again, welcome everyone here because this is what we need to do in the next coming series of talks, inshallah, however frequent they may be, is to talk about issues that all of you guys are going to face or are facing right now. These issues that I remember when I was your age and younger, that I would look for the answers and I couldn't find the answers. Or wherever I looked, it was places that were not appropriate. This is an environment that is allowing you with somewhere you can come and ask these questions and not feel shy. People who are watching, inshallah, if this happens to make it on TV or YouTube, that this is a conduit, a way to allow us to talk about things that are quite difficult to talk about. Maybe embarrassing to talk with your dad about, or maybe embarrassing to talk with your mom about, of course. So inshallah, a principle in Islam and a principle in learning in general is two types of people will never learn anything. One type of person that will never learn is the arrogant person. A person who thinks he or she knows everything and they don't need to learn because they think they know it all. Do those people never learn, and they never will learn and never will be anything. The second type of person is the shy person, the one who's too shy to ask questions. Everybody's identity here, I won't be going and telling you Muawiyah said this or Muhammad said that. I would never say any of this. Everything that is here will stay here. You have my word on that, my promise, inshallah. So again, that Allah is there's no shyness in religion because these must be established. The truth must be established. So what we're going to talk about today is a topic that a lot of people are afraid to talk about, and that is masturbation. Again, I know this is a kind of a sensitive topic, but everyone pretty much knows what it is. It is when you stimulate yourself to the point of what happens. You stimulate your point usually to the point of what? Many? Good. Who said many? Good. Wow, that's right. Many. So usually, not always. I mean, sometimes some people can masturbate and not reach that point. But typically, that is done with sexual thoughts to the point of many, because as the Sheikh mentioned in the previous lecture, there is a good feeling and there is a comfort associated, usually a period of relaxation after this event. Now, first off, so we define what it is. Usually it is, again, done by yourself, by the person, usually with his hand, to a point where it's self-stimulation. And that's what. Anyone unclear about the definition of what it is? Anyone not know what it is? Raise your hand. Is everyone clear what it means? Okay, how common is it? Now we see this across religions, across countries. This is not something that's specific to the Muslims. This is not something specific to the Christians, but usually to young men and even men who are even married or older men do this. What a national study that was done said, how many people do you think on average, from like 12, 13 years old, maybe 11, until adult, how many think, what percentage of people do it at least once? Hundreds are pretty close. What do you think, 70? 98? 95? The actual answer is 95% according to this study, 95% of people engage in this behavior. Now, what's important to understand is that from an Islamic perspective, the Sheikh can talk about it, and correct me if I'm incorrect, that when you have the release of many, so if you masturbate and you have release of many, you see the thick fluid in propulsion with force, you now become taklif. In Arabic means responsible, meaning that whatever you do, you're going to be held responsible. Hasanat and sayyat, nar, jahannam. So you're not a kid anymore. You're not forgiven anymore. So even if you're 8 years old and you masturbate, you become taklif at 8 years old. So it's an important point. So when you become mature, you'll be responsible for your actions if you do this. Okay, that's important to understand. Is that correct? Okay. Now, you may ask, well, why do people do it? Why do people masturbate? There are many different reasons that people masturbate. Well, one of the reasons, the obvious reasons, is that it feels good. I mean, if it hurt, nobody would do it, right? So that's one of the main reasons. Another reason is sometimes people do it because they're nervous or anxious. Just to relieve tension. You know, for example, somebody who's young and can't get married and is curious or, you know, has these types of things, they do it just to relieve that tension and it feels good. Another reason that someone might masturbate is that they can't get married. They can't afford to get married. They're a student. They don't have the means to get married. The Prophet ﷺ said that he encouraged us to get married soon to protect ourselves from any type of action that may be, you know, haram or not so good. And we'll talk about whether it's haram or not. The Shaykh we will address this later. Right now we're just talking about it from a medical aspect and from a definition aspect. Another reason someone may do it is they don't want to catch any diseases. You know, there are a lot of diseases if you have sex. Of course, as Muslims, we don't have sex outside of marriage. But if we make mistakes, Muslims make mistakes. If you happen to do that, that's obviously not a good thing to do, but may Allah forgive us. We all make mistakes. But they do this in order to relieve the tension and not get any of the sexually transmitted diseases, okay? Another reason that you could do it is that sometimes if you're not able to have a child, again, this is not your, you know, if you're married, you're having troubles having a child, sometimes we need a sample to look at it and see if there's anything wrong with the sperm, in the sperm count, to see if you can have a child or not, okay? That's another reason, okay? Now, if you look in the medical literature, like if you go and you look up the articles and what does medicine say, most of it says that it's okay. It doesn't hurt you. It doesn't cause health problems, okay? And for the most part, okay? In the past, they used to think it may cause problems, but currently, the medical field, not religion, not related to Islam, not related to religion, is that it does not cause any harm. Okay. Now, there are some exceptions. They say, what are some of those exceptions? Is that if someone starts doing it, and they start doing it so many times, a lot, that they can't focus on anything. They can't get their work done. They don't do their homework, or they just stay at home and they engage in that activity, and to the point where it disrupts their lives. That can become a problem, okay? That's definitely a problem. It's also been shown that if you do it a lot, when you're married or when you want to have a relationship, you may struggle within your relationship with your wife and doing it the way that Allah has given you a spouse. And actually, nobody disagrees that when you have sex with your wife, there's actually health benefits for your heart and your prostate and all your body. So again, this is for a topic that sex is, Allah has given it to us. This is something that is halal and something we get rewarded for. And this is so this in a way, if it prevents you from doing that, this can become a problem, okay? About the average, like typically someone will say, how often do people masturbate in a week? The average in what the literature says, the studies say about 5 times or so a week, 5 to 7 times. Some people do it less, some people do it more, about 5 to 7 times. Now, the problem comes in is when you add religion to it, and if you feel like it's bad, or we'll talk more about the religious aspects, you can sometimes develop guilt and shame because that comes from your religious belief. And we'll talk about that a little bit later, okay? Masturbation in general is safe, doesn't hurt you, long as it's not done in excess, according to the literature. I'm speaking per the literature, okay, from the medical standpoint, okay? I'm not speaking from the Islamic standpoint. Now, you have to be careful because there are some people, again, that 2 things that could happen. That if you masturbate very hard and very vigorous, as they say, you can actually fracture your penis. You can actually break the penis. I know you laugh, and that's a very serious condition. You look at it, it hurts. It becomes almost purple, and it bends. And it almost looks like an eggplant. I'm not trying... this can happen while you're masturbating. It can also happen while you're having sex, and it's actually an emergency. You actually have to get it fixed, surgery. I do these surgeries. It's rare, but I've done several of them where you have to repair it. It becomes like a fracture. But it can happen with very vigorous or very hard masturbation. You've got to be careful, I mean, in that aspect. The second thing that can be done is that if you do it frequently or more frequently, it can swell a little bit. It can get swollen. Your penis, that's okay. It's not a big deal. Usually with rest and time, it will return back to normal. It's not a bad thing. Now, what are some of the things that people talk about? Like if you masturbate, this is going to happen. Have you heard the myth that you grow hair on your palms? This has no truth in the medical literature. That does not happen. You do not grow hair on your palms. There's also a myth that if you masturbate, you will become blind or you'll lose your vision. This is not true, okay? There's no literature to support that, okay? The third thing is that if you masturbate, you may not be able to have kids in the future. This is not true. This does not affect the way you have kids when you get older, okay? Another one is that it can cause hair loss. If you masturbate, you'll lose your hair. This is also not true, okay? This is not true. So there are many type of myths out there. I'm sure you probably got, we could talk about, what I want to do is leave time for questions and answers. I want to hear a lot of questions. Again, we don't have to show your identity, and we will answer them to the best from the Islamic perspective, where the Sheikh is here for the Islamic perspective, me from the medical perspective. But in general, it does not hurt your health. It does not cause you to get cancer. It does not cause you to not be able to have a child. It does not cause harm. It does not cause your penis to get smaller. It doesn't cause anything like that according to the literature. So there's no definite harm as of right now. Now, we start talking about the religious aspects, that's a whole other issue, because if you think it's haram and you do it, you start to feel guilty and have shame, and you feel bad, and you feel like you're disobeying Allah. And that's a whole nother dimension. That's a whole other aspect of this topic, okay? But I'm telling you from a medical standpoint, it does not, according to what we know now, it has not been clearly stated that it hurts the body in any way. Now, there are some issues that it can, if you overdo it, and it can mess up your relationship with your wife. It is possible. There are cases where that happens. But if you do it occasionally, or if you do it normally, whatever that may be for you, you may not have these problems. So with having said that information, that's basically a very brief. I didn't want to get into too much details. I want to answer what's important to you, and we'll go from the question and answers, because question and answers is the best way to learn, because it's what's in your minds, what you think. So I just gave you an overview, so we can now set up questions and answers. And maybe, Sheikh, if you want to talk maybe a few minutes from the Islamic perspective before we answer questions. Yeah. Tafadhal, Sheikh. So I'm going to turn it over to Sheikh, who is Sheikh طارق, who is in Fiqh, as you all know him. He will talk about the opinions and what the Islamic positions are, and then we'll open the door for questions and answers, inshallah.
بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. May Allah reward you for everything, inshallah ta'ala. جزاك الله خير. ابتداء الله سبحانه وتعالى قال والذين هم لفروجهم حافظون إلا على أزواجهم أو ما ملكت أيمانهم.
He starts out with an ayah, and he says that Allah says in the Quran that he says that the ones, a description of the believers, the one who are the believers, the one who protect their private parts, the one who does not engage in unlawful sex except with his wife and what his right hand possesses. Interestingly, I used to read that when I was a kid and think that means masturbation. Your right hand, that's okay. It does not mean that. It explains what right hand is.
يا سبحان الله.
I used to think that.
الآن سأذكر المسألة على عجالة حتى نفتح باب الأسئلة، كونه ما عندنا وقت حقيقة. يعني أنا يعني سبحان الله الوقت يداهمنا، فلذلك سأسرع بالرأي الفقهي حتى نجيب عن هذه الأسئلة لأنها من الأهمية بمكان أن نجيب بإذن الله.
He wants to talk quickly so we can answer more questions.
Now, من الناحية الفقهية ذهب جمهور الفقهاء إلى أن هذه العملية محرمة. جمهور الفقهاء قالوا بأن هذه العادة السرية بأنها عملية محرمة لأسباب شرعية، كون الله سبحانه وتعالى قال والذين هم لفروجهم حافظون، فينبغي أن تحفظ فرجك، فلا يوجد مخرج إلا ذكره الله سبحانه وتعالى، قال إلا على من أزواجهم أو ما ملكت أيمانهم.
He said the majority of the scholars said that this action, despite what I said about the medical, whether it's harmful or not, in the Islamic perspective, from the jumhur, meaning the collection, majority, it's not all of them, but most of them, said that it is haram, because Allah says in the Quran, as a description of the believers, that the ones who protect their private parts, in every single way except that which you are married to or what your right hand possesses.
نعم. الآن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أرشدنا إلى فعل الخير، وما من خير إلا وبينه لنا. النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام ذكر الشباب تحديدا: يا معشر الشباب من استطاع منكم الباءة فليتزوج. مختصر الحديث إلى أن قال: فمن لم يستطع فعليه بالصوم فإنه له وجاء. لو كان هذا الأمر، فهمت علي، لو كانت العادة السرية مباحة لذكرها النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كمخرج معروف لدى العرب قديما. فلو كان هذا المخرج حلالا لقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم: فعليك بالعادة السرية. فماذا قال النبي؟ قال: عليك بالصوم فإنه له وجاء أي وقاية وحماية.
Sheikh said in his opinion, he said that as the Prophet ﷺ said, in Islam everything is clear. And he said that Rasulullah ﷺ gave us instruction on what to do. He said he actually encouraged us to get married. And he said if you cannot get married, if you don't have the sustenance, you don't have the ability to get married, then for you is to fast. Fasting is indeed a protection. If this is something that's not new, it's been around for a long time. Yeah. And he said if it was something that was okay, the Prophet ﷺ would have said, it's okay, go ahead and do it. He would have said instead of fasting, he said go ahead and masturbate. However, he did not say that, he said to fast, for it is a protection for you.
النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام بطريق آخر علمنا أمرا في غاية الأهمية. لماذا الشاب يلجأ إلى العادة السرية؟ حقيقة دعنا نحللها من ناحية يعني نفسية أو اجتماعية. لماذا يلجأ الشاب إلى العادة السرية؟ النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام أعطانا حديث في غاية الجمال، قال: ولا تتبع النظرة النظرة، لا تتبع النظرة. الشاب، فهمت علي، لأنه يرخي نظره يمنة ويسرى، يعني يرى الحسنوات والشقراوات والجميلات، فعندما يرى هذا الأمر يضع في مخيلته هذه الصور، فمما يستدعيه إلى أن يفرغ شهوته بطريق حرام. النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام قال: اقطع هذه النظرة، لك الأولى وعليك الثانية.
Briefly, in summary, he said that the Prophet ﷺ gave us complete guidance, and in particular, he's talking about our gaze. Allah also tells us in the Quran, you who believe, lower your gazes. Don't look at the opposite sex. Don't look at her, her breast. Don't look at her, her butt. Don't look at these things, because the first glance that you do, that's for you. That's okay. But when we talk about first glance, that doesn't mean you sit here and look like this. This is my first glance.
أتفكر في خلق الله.
No, he says, and then I'm just marveling at the creation of Allah. People do these things, and this is absolutely not. This is not what is meant. It means you're walking and you happen to see something, turn away. The first gate, you're not responsible for the first sight. Don't look again, because if you do, the thoughts come into your mind, and may Allah protect us, that it could lead to something bad like zina or fornication.
أختصر المسألة حقيقة هي تحتاج إلى ساعة حقيقة، ولكن أختصرها: أباحها الفقهاء في حالة معينة.
He says that the scholars have allowed it in a couple situations.
قال الفقهاء بإباحتها عند الضرورة. ما معنى الضرورة؟ بعض الناس فهمها بطريقة خطأ. قالوا الضرورة تقدر بقدرها، بمعنى آخر إذا وقعت خيرت بين أمرين، أن تزني أو تفعل العادة السرية. ماذا تفعل؟ لا أفعل العادة السرية ولا أزني.
He's giving the situation of when is it permissible or acceptable, not something that's encouraged but acceptable, is that if you're in a situation where you are really about to commit fornication, you're about to do something bad, you're about to either have sex with someone you're not supposed to, or to masturbate, the situation would be better to masturbate in this situation, because in Islam we always take the lesser of the two evils. We take the lesser of the two evils.
فلذلك لا تقول لي أنا في حالة ضرورة. لا، الضرورة أنه الأصل فيك أن تغض البصر. وقل للمؤمنين يغضوا من أبصارهم ويحفظوا فروجهم. هذا الأصل.
And he said, you got to be careful with how you translate or how you understand hardship. Because you can't just use that willy-nilly. Just I'm having hardship. Really, if you really feel like you're going to do something wrong, that's the time you maybe can take that option. But the asl, the origin, the best thing, and Allah and with Allah is the true answer. The best thing is to turn your gaze fast and stay away from it. That is the best way.
أباحها الفقهاء أيضا في حالة أخرى إذا كان هناك ماء زائدا في الجسم حقيقة لديه شهوة عالية جدا ولا يستطيع الزواج لحاله لفقره أو لمرض معين فلا يستطيع إفراغ هذا الماء الزائد في جسمه إلا بهذه العملية نقول له جاز لك أن تفعل ذلك خشية أن تقع في الزنا.
It's a similar situation. Is a man who has high sexual desire, someone who's really, but he can't afford to get married. He doesn't have the means to get married. He doesn't have the ability. So because of all of this, all of this buildup and how much he desires and has this very high sex drive, in this situation he is allowed to do it. This would be a situation that would be allowable in this situation.
ممكن أحد الشباب يسأل الآن طب شيخ لماذا الإسلام يعني لا يعطينا هذه الأريحية نحن نريد أن نفرغ طاقتنا أو شهوتنا فهمت علي كونه لا نستطيع الآن الزواج فلماذا لا يمنعنا الإسلام من فعل أمر قد يكون من الناحية الطبية الآن فهمت علي ليس فيه أضرار كثيرة ولكن الجواب على ذلك الآتي.
نعم. He said, well, you may ask, well, why did Islam restrict us? We're young right now. We're not looking to get married. You're not looking to get married at this time right now. What's the medicine now is saying it's not bad, at least at this time. Again, we understand a lot of times in medicine we may say something and then several years down or months down the road or years down the road where it's completely wrong. And it's the situation is completely reversed. So we know what Allah tells us and the Prophet ﷺ says we know is haqq. And it will not change it. It's 100% accurate. So why is it that Islam not allow us to do this and the medicine is saying it's okay? He's going to give you the answer.
Now, الجواب على ذلك نقول من الناحية الفقهية عندنا قاعدة فقهية أو أصولية تقول ما ثبت ضرره ثبت تحريمه ما ثبت ضرره ثبت تحريمه. الآن كلمة ما ثبت ضرره إذا كان هذا الضرر طبيا إذا كان هذا الضرر اجتماعيا إذا كان هذا الضرر نفسيا أو عقليا أو ذهنيا إذا ثبت هذا الأمر يقينا نقول عن هذا الفعل أي فعل نقوم به نقول عنه حرام إذا ثبت ضرره. والآن هل العادة السرية أثبت لها الطب العادي أو طب النفس أو غير ذلك أو حتى الطب الاجتماعي هل أثبت لها مساوئ؟ نعم أثبت لها بدليل.
He's basically, to make it short, he brought some important fiqh principles, but the idea is if something, some subject matter, or has shown that there is a harm in something, then it, by extension, it's haram. So even if it's not specifically said, but if there is some group of doctors or if there is a situation where it could lead to harm or potential harm from the door of cutting out all bad, the evil roots it's haram. So everything in Islam, it's not just the goal is haram, even the means to the goal is haram. So you can't go to a strip club and go call people to Islam because you can't, because you're going to the strip club, that's haram. But you're saying, brother, I want to do da'wah. Da'wah's halal. It's actually not halal, it's encouraged. So, but the means, the way to get to calling people to Islam, you can't go into a strip club. So you wait till they come out. So that everything has to be halal. So he's going to.
الآن من الناحية النفسية حقيقة من يمارس العادة السرية هذه أين يفعلها في العادة؟ يفعلها في مكان مختبئ حقيقة لذلك سميت سرية. هي ليست سرية هي جهرية أمام الله سبحانه وتعالى. أنت الآن سؤالي هل تستطيع أن تفعل هذه العادة أمام your mother أمام أبوك؟
He's saying the first. He's giving evidence.
نفسيا أنا عم بتكلم نفسي.
He's speaking from his own rationale, his own thought, from fiqh experience and living experience. Now the whole action is an action that is done in a small area in secret. Would you be comfortable doing it in front of a crowd, in front of your mother, in front of your brother, in front of even anyone? So that's one evidence.
الآن حقيقة من النواحي الاجتماعية أقولها الآن ذكرت المسألة النفسية، طبعا هذا يؤثر، الحالة الأولى تؤثر على الحالة النفسية حقيقة، فهمت علي؟ الحالة الثانية الاجتماعية. الآن عندما تتزوج، استمرار العادة السرية، استمرار العمل بالعادة السرية يؤدي بك إلى أن تصل إلى مرحلة الزواج، لن تستمتع بزوجتك، لن تستمتع بزوجتك. ليش؟ لأنه أنت الآن لا تحصل اللذة إلا بهذه العملية. طب الآن أنا متزوج، يفترض بي أن أشبع رغبتي مع زوجتي. لن تشبع رغبتك كونه لا تستطيع أن تصل إلى درجة الشهوة إلا بهذا الأمر، مما يؤدي إلى أن تقوم الزوجة برفع حالة الطلاق لدى القاضي. ليش؟ لأنه زوجها لا يمارس معها الزواج الطبيعي.
That's a very good point. So he's talking now from the point, he's saying first he gave the evidence from the person, how it kind of can affect the person. Now he's going to talk about how it can affect the society, particularly your wife. And they're all connected. Basically saying that if you continue upon this affair and then you get married, and believe it, there are many men who are married and they continue to masturbate. But what is the harm? Well, it is mentioned also in medicine. This is when it becomes excessive. That what happens is they lose the desire to go to their wife. And Allah created us to have sex with our wives. There are a lot of medical benefits having sex, by the way. There's a lot. We won't go into them. But if you do this, you will have less enjoyment. It's kind of like you want to go eat a nice steak at a real nice restaurant, and it's a super nice steak. And before you go, you get three big pieces of bread, huge pieces of bread. And when you go eat the steak, everyone likes juicy steak. You're going to go, I'm stuffed. I can't touch that steak. Steak, it doesn't taste good. Imagine when you go to that big juicy piece of steak and you haven't had anything to eat and you're fasting. How much enjoyment do you get from a steak or a big piece of chicken, whatever you like, right? So the concept is that you will lose that. And some men, that they're not even able to have sex with their wives because they have to masturbate. They've done it so many times that they don't get the same pleasure. They have to actually masturbate in order to get many or to have orgasm, as they call it. So it really impairs the relationship, and also it may even lead to divorce, as he said. That the wife doesn't get her right. He doesn't come to her anymore. He would rather just do it in a secret place to whatever, and then the relationship deteriorates, and she ends up asking for divorce.
آخر أمر إن شاء الله حتى أفتح باب الأسئلة. حقيقة من الناحية أيضا الاجتماعية ثبتت، ليست في حالة أو حالتين أو ثلاثة، بل في حالات كثيرة ممن يمارسون العادة السرية أنه يحدث عنده، يعني عند الجماع مع زوجته يحدث عنده شيء يسمى سرعة القذف، لا يستمتع مع زوجته، فعندما أول ما يباشر زوجته يقذف بسرعة. وإنما هي العملية الجنسية تحتاج إلى وقت حتى أنت تستمتع وزوجتك. عادة الزوجة يعني لا تأتي لها الشهوة بسرعة، فينبغي أن تنتظرها، من حقها أن تنتظرها حتى تستمتع هي كذلك. فعندما تستمني كثيرا يحدث عندك سرعة في القذف، فمما تفوت على نفسك حقيقة، لأنه كثير من الرجال يذهب إلى الدكاترة ويطلب بعض المراهم التي توضع على العضو الذكري لديهم حتى يؤخروا عملية القذف ويستمتعوا. هذا واحد. الثانية، أعلم أشخاص حقيقة أنا أقول كوني إمام مسجد، كنت يأتيني أشخاص يقولوا لي شيخ والله ما استطعت أن أعاشر زوجتي في ليلة الدخلة، ما استطاع. لماذا؟ لأنه كان مجهدا فما استطاع أن يمارس العملية، يعني ما استطاع أن يمارسها بشكل طبيعي. لماذا؟ لأنه أجهد نفسه فوقع في فخ نفسه، سبحان الله. فلذلك هكذا الإسلام ينظر إلى المسألة بناحية شمولية، هل هي حلال أم حرام؟ فهمت علي؟ فنقول والله أعلم هي محرمة، فهمت علي؟ أباحها الفقهاء في حالات ذكرتها لكم.
So he gives another, this is the last one, inshallah, we'll open it up to questions. He says what happens is, if you practice masturbation a lot, it could lead to what's called premature ejaculation. So what happens is, you reach orgasm, which is like after orgasm, men, they go down. When you studied how the phases are, you go down and you don't have the enjoyment. So you go to your wife and you finish very quickly. And this is not fair or correct for your wife, because women tend to take a longer time to get the enjoyment. Men, they do it. If you do this, you'll do it fast. You'll go fast, and she doesn't get the enjoyment that she has the right to. And to the point where it could get to the point where he was mentioning a story of a person came to him and he said on his wedding night he could not even perform sex. He couldn't get his penis hard to have sex because he engaged in it so much that he just wasn't able to do it. So he's saying from these aspects, Islam has come to preserve all of this and to protect us and to protect relationships and to allow us to be able to do things the way Allah has made it, the most pure and the most enjoyable way. So the problem is, and I would add one other thing, inshallah, we'll open the questions, is masturbation. Let's say whether you think it's haram or halal, a lot of times it leads to haram. Now what I mean by that is, so let's say you masturbate. Many people will masturbate looking at pornography. There is no debate that looking at pornography is haram, right? Looking at a woman who's naked through the internet or whatever on the TV, no debate that's haram. So even if you follow the opinion that it's permissible in some situations or that it's permissible, usually it will lead to haram. So it would be better, if you're trying to achieve the highest level, would probably be best to avoid it as much as possible. May Allah help us, inshallah. Okay, here we go. Your question. All right, inshallah, we'll open the door to questions and answers. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Is it haram to look at animated women like in cartoons or animes? A good question. Do you understand the Shaykh question? It's the cartoons, الكرتون. Shaykh, تفضل Shaykh.
هذه لا خلاص.
Now, Allah barik. Shaykh will be right beside me. I will say from what I'm a student of him. Inshallah, I will say from what I know. No, anything, first off, he said there is a principle that anything that leads to haram is haram. Now, there's no question here that looking at this is haram. From the aspect, looking at a naked woman, whether it's a cartoon, whether it's a photograph, it is haram and it needs istighfar. Now, there may be levels to look at a woman, like looking at somebody's house, trying to see somebody undress, obviously is a lot worse. To go to a strip club is a lot worse. But looking at a woman at her private parts, whether it be a cartoon, a drawing, is not from the affairs of a believer. It would be better to avoid it. And wallahu alam. Is it completely necessary to shave the testicles or the scrotum? Yes, it is from the fitrah. You just need to use clippers. I don't know, like the hair clippers take off the little guards. You can buy those clippers that have guards, 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Just take it to the very lowest one and just clip it. But be careful, you can cut yourself. Does masturbation cause acne? There's no evidence in the medical literature that acne, any pimples. Red does no. There's no evidence that it causes acne or any type of skin lesion. Okay. Oh, this was already answered. If someone is very, very stimulated, the word that we like to use is the slang word is horny. If you're really horny and you feel like you really need to do something, and you feel like you can't. In this situation, if you feel like you're going to go into haram, we said this may be a situation, the Shaykh said, that you may have an excuse, but it is better if you fast, and it is better not to do it. فاهم, okay. فاهم. He wants to, which Jazakallah khair, he wants to clarify what darura means, like when you're really in a tough situation. It's if somebody, let's say what's your name, brother? Oh, I don't want to, but that's okay. Muhammad, if someone came to Muhammad, knocked on your door, and she came and she had a bikini, and she said, I want something right now, Muhammad. And in this situation, you say, Ma'adallah, and you turn away, and then because you were so stimulated, you did it in this situation, that's accepted. You turned her away and you did something less. But if you were to go, Muhammad, or to a video, and you were to open up the computer and the internet, and you watch something or see something, and say, well, I'm very stimulated, I need to do it because it's darura. Now, look, we always want the lesser of the two evils. It's better to do that than to do another haram, to go and to do something live. Now, again, if you do it, which most of you will do it, make istighfar. Allahu al-Ghafur rahim. It's not like, oh my God, I masturbated now, I'm so filthy, I can't make salah. I can't salli. How can I? Well, you got to make ghusl. You don't have to. Oh, by the way, if you masturbate and you have many, you have to make ghusl. We know that. That's tahara. We'll talk. What's that? Oh yes. We still have time. Oh. Well, we're almost. Do you really have to shave your? What's that? Do you really have to shave your pubic? Oh.
Stay outside, please.
Hold on.
Ma'am.
Do you really have to shave your pubic hair, or you can cut it? You can cut it. You can shave with the clippers. Clippers are the best thing. You don't have to get like a razor and put gel and get it all the way bare. Is it makruh to have long hair? No, there's nothing wrong with it. Khalid ibn Walid, and you can have long hair, inshallah. For those who can't get married, what do they do? Okay. Okay, let me see. What do they do when they're just like, okay.
حد عنده أي سؤال? Do you have any questions?
سؤال.
لأنه إحنا خلصنا الآن.
Two questions for the stuff that you mentioned before. You said you can, like the first look is like for you and the second one is on you. Well, you know, in modern society, it's like everyone. It's not just one person. So if you look, you turn. There's another one, and then there's another.
فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ. Fear God as much as you're, as Allah says in the Quran, as much as you're able to. If you do, turn away. You turn away from one, turn away from the other, and then look down. And then inshallah, fear Allah is to the best of your ability. Allah knows your intentions, and inshallah you get more reward because you're in a situation where it's more difficult than being, say, in Medina or Mecca, which encourages us when we go there. Everybody has hijab. It's much easier. But may Allah help us to have that environment. Circumcision, yeah.
Yeah, circumcision. I was talking to a Jewish guy, and he said that they do, in Judaism, they did circumcision because it lessens the desires.
No, not true. No, there's no evidence whatsoever that circumcision decreases desires whatsoever. It is a ritual that we Muslims do and the Jews do. Yes, we do. Khitam, it's something, but there is no evidence that supports that. I think there was another question. Here, you had your hand up. What? It's a good question.
Yeah. If you fast, but you still it's still addictive, and like you said, you could fast. What if fasting is not enough? Like the person.
Okay, that's probably the most good question. This needs another discussion. We're pressed for time. We can talk about it. I'll give you some suggestion. Yeah. But as of right now, look, he said, look, if you make a mistake, you do this. Make istighfar immediately. Ask Allah to forgive you. Have the intention not to return back to it again. Allah will forgive you. Look, if you masturbate 25 trillion times, if you make istighfar, a real istighfar, you feel bad, 25 trillion and one, you go to Jannah, inshallah. I promise you. If you make the istighfar. He had a question. He gave the evidence. We talked about the evidence, and it is not like the Prophet ﷺ did not say, don't masturbate. You know, and that is, there are some scholars, again, Sheikh knows, he wants to simplify things. This is a big subject, but there are some that will argue that it's not clear 100%, but that doesn't mean it's halal or haram. But the point of the matter is, it is at least the best case, it's doubtful. The best scenario, it's doubtful. And whoever stays away from the doubtful affairs protects himself and his religion. So, but specifically, you have a point. You have an argument.
Just one question. After you've done this action,
that's good.
What you gain?
What do you feel? How do you feel?
Yeah. ماذا كسبت?
What he's saying, after you masturbate, what do you gain out of it?
حقيقة يعني عملتها الآن بعديها شوي الجميع يظن أنها ستنتهي، لا هي تزداد، هكذا الشهوة تطلبها مرة ستأتيك الثانية والثالثة والرابعة والخامسة. فلذلك إذا أردت أن تقطعها اقطعها مرة واحدة ولا تعود إليها، لأنه ما الفائدة منها؟
He's basically saying if you want to stop, try to stop right now because there is no benefit. We all know it. We all know that these behaviors can be very, very, very addicting. And what happens is it becomes, we have to stop it. We have to stop. And what ends up happening, we'll conclude, what ends up happening is that you start using it as a medicine. Like you're nervous, you're tired, and you find relief. And unfortunately, that's not the best way to relieve that tension. We have to learn how to relieve those tensions in good ways, like going and playing a game of basketball. We'll talk more about how can we in the next we could talk more about. He had one question.
Right, you said like if you couldn't get married, you have to fast. How much, like, did it say in the Quran or a Hadith? How much days did you have like to fast?
Just fast as much as you need to. He said for those who can't do it, let him fast for Monday, Thursday, 3 days in the month.